So I think when we're children, we form the habit very early of pushing away what we don't like and grabbing what we do like. For example, on TV and other shows, there's a lot of a baby sitting in a high chair throwing a dish off the table that they don't like and grabbing the dish they do like and eating it. So this is a habit we form very, very early. And habits are fine in some circumstances, but not fine in others. But we rely on it throughout our childhood of pushing away what we don't like and grabbing what we do like. And unfortunately, we do form a very strong habit about this. For example, in America, the cars come from the right, close to us, when we're crossing the street. So we get in the habit of looking to the right before we cross the street. But if we're in another country where the driving is on the left, stepping off the curb and looking to your right can be fatal. So, and this happened more than once when we first went to Japan, to step off the curb and be looking to the right and suddenly hear the car coming. So habits can be good in some instances, they cannot be good in others. And anyway, this kind of, the Lankavatara Sutra calls this habit energy. And we hold on to this. And our mind is so made up that we literally stop thinking about, and we stop making choices with our thinking mind or our aware mind, and we become closed to the everything but the habit. And this is fatal for us in living, not necessarily like in stepping off the curb, but when we walk around with a mind already made up about everything and walk into the world, we may miss many wonderful things in the world. We may miss many opportunities because our mind is closed to everything but the habit. So walking around with our mindset on habit is a really waste of time. It's as if, in the Lankavatara Sutra says, it's like having a mind that does not like to think. So whenever you act on habit, you're not thinking, you're not facing choices. So one of the things of getting away from this is to wake up and to start being aware of everything that you act on with habit and start paying attention to it and realizing you're missing choices at that moment when you act on a habit. So it can be really bad. For example, in our world, we have Republicans who think they are right and Democrats who are totally opposed and closed, and Democrats who think they're completely right and Republicans who are completely closed. So it makes a dead circumstance when it's like that. But in ordinary circumstances, when you walk around with your mind operating on habit, it's like coasting in a car. It looks like it's safe. If you have a car that can drive by itself, it's okay. But it's a very comfortable situation to live with because you don't have to work. So the important thing is to keep your mind working really for all time. So whenever you come to anything where you start to act on habit, best to take a look at that and realize you're giving up your chance to make choices. So at that point, you can start to see what you're actually rejecting and what you're actually saying, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And you may have long changed your mind about that, but it still hangs on from childhood. Okay. And Suzuki Roshi said there are no rules in practice, but to be aware of what you are doing. That means to be present all the time, and that's work. That's work because you have to always be thinking of choices, meeting those choices directly and deciding at each moment what the correct choice is. So there's no time to be coasting. So we are celebrating Buddha's birthday today. And one of the ways is we can really celebrate it is to be aware of the flowers, the sweet tea, the statue, the sound of the birds outside, and to pour the water with complete paying attention, with the picking up the bamboo dipper, picking it up carefully, dipping the water carefully, and pouring the water carefully. And that's a wonderful gift. That's a flower of your own to give to the Buddha. Happy birthday. Okay, I think that's enough for now. I just wanted to read a few things that I found when I was reading about awareness that I really liked. This was a note I found under my desk when I woke up on Saturday morning later than usual with my talk to write. It said, "We race at things or run from them. We don't sit still and look at them." That's what I found the next morning. Okay, it says, in meditation, we don't go to a different place, a good place. We stay in the same place, and that is the choice we make. That's a big, powerful choice, to stay right where you are in every moment, and to make that a deliberate, conscious choice to be right here. It may not particularly be a great place, but it's your place. Therefore, claim ownership of it. Okay, that's all I can think of that I found.
Mike raised his hand.
Mike, what do you have to say?
It seems that the the biggest problem is to be aware that we're not aware, in the sense that our habit thinking becomes so ingrained that we don't even recognize it. We don't even identify it as habit thinking. We just think it's our reality until we encounter something that makes us break out from that.
That's a very good point. And so the first thing all of you should do is not try to make choices every minute, but to just notice where you're at when you meet situations. What part is closed, what part is open, and just wake yourself up slowly about things.
Thank you.
Chris?
Is it fair to say that maintaining the stories we have about our small selves is a bad habit?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is it fair to say that maintaining our stories about our small self is a bad habit? Like,
yes.
Is the ego a bad habit?
Yes, that is a very bad habit, because not only do we make these stories up, we start to extend them into our waking life. And we want to act on them, and we're really annoyed when it doesn't work out that way, because it's a fantasy in our mind, and yeah, we would like it to be present, but it isn't. So the stories can really remove us from real life. It's better to cut them off at the root. Very much so. It's a pleasure to do that, because you're coasting again when we do that. When we start thinking and making up stories about our life, we start coasting in the car, which is a dangerous situation. We're not paying attention. We're assuming we know what we're doing. We assume we're safe, and we aren't when we're daydreaming. And we're living in a world of continual choices to be made. So please When you see a story starting to take shape in your mind, take a look at it, realize, tell yourself, this is not real. This is what I think I would like, but it isn't real. Because that story is over there and I'm here. I'm right here sitting. Always bring yourself back to here. Here is where I am. I gave a talk one time. It was called You Are Here. And it was like when you look at a map and there's a big sign that says you are here. And then you can figure out where everything else is because you know where you are. You are here. And that's, I think, is true. When you understand truly that you are here, everything else falls into place in a different way than you would like it to be, but it's real. And then you have to start to make real choices. So first, always come back to you are here. Okay. Oh, Mark. Yeah.
Yes, let's see, can you all hear me out there? Okay, good, all right. Let's see. You know, I think our mind is really good at discovering patterns in life and in the here and now, but we also we look at patterns from the past, and then I think we start putting those patterns into a story that is going to help us dealing with the future, and then we settle into kind of an autopilot to go through that. So how do you saying to get back to ground control, let's just call it that, we have to call on the radio to ourselves and go, we are right here, this is our position, this is exactly what we're doing, and paying attention, I think, to our body and our hands. Where are our hands is really, really important. That'll tell you a lot about where you are at the moment. So if I'm like this, I'm stroking my thighs. This is known as soothing yourself. This is in body language, this is what you're doing, you're soothing yourself. And like right now, you have your hands together, kind of in a prayer, and your fingers are moving around, and you're trying to understand what I'm saying, and then it shows that. So I think it's always coming back to your body, what you see and what you hear, instead of what's echoing in here.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult because we're taught to always think, always identify, always 1 + 1 + 1 equals
3.
3, thank you. But it isn't, sometimes it's 4 or it's 5 because the future is very dynamic. And where we are right now is actually 1, where we are. So if we could just stay with 1, it's very, very hard to do that.
Yeah, that's why if you're lost in a big mall and you come to this map, you know, it says you are here, and then you understand where everything else is in relationship to you, and it's a big help. So always just bring yourself back to here.
So then the question is, are we ever, when we're out in the world, are we ever really lost? Even though we think we know, and we're on autopilot, we're more lost than when we finally wake up and go, I don't know where I am. Do you understand? Like when you go to the information place and you go, I don't know where I am, you're completely open at that moment.
Yeah.
So it can be a thing of coming back to yourself, grounding yourself in your body, but understanding that, opening up enough to feel a little lost, so you do pay attention to the moment, to what's really going on in front of you. It's kind of a false sense of safety I think we can use habit to create for us.
Yes, but I find that habit doesn't work for me if I'm lost, because I get a panic feeling when I'm lost, because when I'm lost, I really get lost. So, and finding a street sign is like saying you are here. And then I feel, oh, now I get it. because Peter used to say to people when we get in the car, you can follow anyone's directions to get back except Jane's, which was true. I got lost so easily all the time that it was funny
But
to
that's
everybody.
that's
except-
what I'm talking about, that kind of lost, if you can work through the panic.
Realizing you're lost is kind of like the first step
Yes.
to realizing where you are.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at, you're right, exactly, it's we're getting at, that lost feeling is a panic.
Yeah,
If we can live with that panic, then we know all things are there, all things to be experienced, you'll experience.
yeah.
It's just a little different way to
Yeah,
look
I
at
know
it.
Peter, whenever we got lost, Peter always seemed to feel things out in a very good way. He didn't panic, but I always did, because when I was lost, I really was lost, finding things. I can remember walking around and around in a small closed street looking for the address of the dentist I was supposed to meet there at 5 o'clock. 10 minutes to 5, I was just walking from one house to the other looking. Turned out I was in a completely wrong enclosed street. And of course, I missed my appointment.
But you found yourself.
No, somebody else found it. But I did get myself, but I didn't get my appointment, which was too bad.
John.
Do you have a question, Chris?
John's got his hand up.
John,
Great
hi.
talk. Great talk. Thank you, Jane. Really liked your metaphor about the map in the mall. Kind of feels like to me that that map is like the Dharma. But sometimes when you get to those maps in the mall and you see the Dharma and it tells you you are here, sometimes you have to figure out where here is when you're looking at that map. You know, it tells you you are here, but then you look around, where are you actually in relation to the Dharma, to that map that's been provided to you? And I think that
The
sometimes
meaning of that map is that you are here, and if you go to your right up a block or two, you'll find something you're looking for. Maybe.
yeah,
Some people,
looking for the landmarks so you can actually find yourself in the Dharma. I
yeah.
really like the metaphor. Thank you very much, Jane.
And also, just like with the mall map, the teaching that we might be interpreting or hearing or remembering is like the map in that it's going to describe what we may actually find in reality. But when we actually find the thing itself, it's going to be a completely different experience than reading or listening or viewing or remembering some teaching. The actual thing, just like Dogen's comment that a painting of a rice cake, you can't eat it and it doesn't satisfy your hunger. The Dharma is a great roadmap as we learn it, and it'll help to refer back and forth between, and I'm saying Dharma in terms of like, reading a book about Zen or a collection of teachings or a talk or what have you. Then the actual application of the teaching as we live life there's going to be some similarity to it. It's just going to be a completely different experience.
That's right, the living experience. But you are here is a living experience in itself. And it's very hard to get there, to get here, because most of us are enjoying our daydreams about self in the way we would like to see it. So the best thing is to drop all of those off, although it's like taking a coat off in freezing weather. So you have to do it when it's supposed to be. If you walk inside a place, you take it off even though you're freezing. but it's an unpleasant experience to get rid of a daydream that you particularly like about yourself, but it's very unpleasant to just cut it off at the root.
I would say that in my experience, when I've approached enlightenment in those moments, I really am lost. There's no map, there's no words, there's no positioning except the stillness that's around. And the stillness is a nothingness, of course, but it's like anything's possible. It's
Yeah,
like
but
things have opened up and light and the space seems expanded. And so I think there's a little bit of lostness in enlightenment because we have to release that sense of self, the sense of place, the sense of teaching, the sense of all these words that have led us there, and all the things we've tried, all the past, what's the future. As soon as you get out of that particular lostness, you're not lost anymore, but you're thinking again and you're not enlightened.
there's no, if you start thinking of it as enlightenment as a thing that is being lost. So the thing is, when you jump off the 100-foot pole, in practice, you work your way up slowly up, climbing in a very difficult way to the top of the pole of practice. And you think you've achieved something when you get to the top, and then your teacher's waiting at the top and says, okay, time to jump off now. And everything was clear on the pole. You do this, that, and the other. But then you jump off the pole and there's nothing to tell you what to do. And at one point, I went to a teacher in Hochinji, Haradawashi, and I said to him, I'm really confused because I don't see any way out or in or whatever. I'm just totally lost. And he said, that's good. And then he said, and I said, why does it hurt so much? And he said, because you can't see or feel anything in the usual sense, and you're bumping up to people in the dark. You're bumping up to furniture in the dark. You just don't, it's the same landscape. You just don't see any lane marks. He said, so just get used to the dark, and if you bump into people, you don't need to say anything, just be careful next time. And that actually helped, that was like that you are here map for me. But there's no thing like enlightenment you can hang on to and say, I am here, this is it. It's as elusive as jumping off the pole and nothing is there, nothing whatsoever to tell you you're doing good, like you were on the pole. Your teachers say, oh, you did that great, now do this. And you say, okay, I understand, I'll do that. And then you do it, and there's nobody there to tell you once you jump off the pole. No matter how good you are, it's never enough because you're the judge of everything now in the dark. So you have to be kind to yourself. You learn to be very kind to yourself in the dark, and then you learn to be kind to others because of that too. And, okay.
Mike put his hand back up.
Mike.
You're muted, Mike. Your mic is muted. All right, sorry.
Mike's mic is Mike. Okay. To throw in a hand grenade into this whole affair, when I was listening to everybody talk, I found that one of the problems is you're only lost if you desire something. Even if it's going to the store or enlightenment, whatever, there's only here. Anywhere on this planet, anywhere in this universe, you're here. This is it. It's just one big here. And so in a lot of ways, when we get lost, it's because we desire something. You wanted to find the dentist. Well, it was necessary, but it was still a desire. and you considered yourself lost. It's I'm just stirring up the pot and spilling it all over the floor of the kitchen here, but I just, that thought came to me that is that part of our problem is our attachment to getting a result from an action is attached to the desire of, I want to be there, not here, but they're both the same place.
Oh, that's
And
an interesting point. Go
like
ahead.
it was just something I was thinking about because I from my experiences as a mountaineer and things like this, got lost and stuff. But I was still where I was. I was still on the mountain. I just wasn't on the spot of the mountain I wanted to be on. You're still in, you know, life, but you're not where you want to be. Why you want to be there? Because you're attached to that idea. You desire that idea. It does have its place in life. Samsara helps us reach enlightenment, but it's that whole, I was just kind of giggling to myself thinking, the map says you are here. Well, where's the map? So it's, I think it's part of it. Part of that concept has to be that we want to be somewhere. That fact that we want to be somewhere may be part of the problem.
Yeah, you are here is the map and is the place you want to be, and you don't have to do anything other than to just be right here, present, where your body is, where your breathing is happening. And the best way to bring you back to here is to practice your breathing. That will bring you back very fast to the present. Anyway, have we finished?
Speaking of the present, someone's got a birthday.
Buddha.